Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Surely do.
The Wire has long been celebrated not just as a television show, but as a sweeping, televised sociological dissertation on the decline of the American city. By dismantling the traditional boundaries between good and bad, the series illustrates that the city of Baltimore is governed by various institutions: the police department, the drug cartels, the political machine, the school system, and the media, that all play different versions of the exact same game. Nowhere is this central theme crystallized more brilliantly or more entertainingly than in Season 2, Episode 6, titled All Prologue.
Back in middle school and all, I used to love them mitts. Stuff was deep.
During the trial of Marquis Bird Hilton, the audience is treated to a courtroom showdown that subverts every trope of the traditional legal drama. The state's star witness is Omar Little, a legendary, shotgun-wielding stick-up boy who makes his living exclusively by robbing drug dealers.
I rip and run.
He is cross-examined by Maurice Levy, the highly paid, impeccably dressed defense attorney for the Barksdale drug syndicate.
Objection, Your Honor.
What transpires is a masterclass in rhetorical warfare. A violent street criminal systematically dismantles a prestigious lawyer, exposing the deep hypocrisies of the justice system and proving that the law is often just another hustle.
Excuse me?
To understand why a criminal defeating a lawyer in a court of law is so profoundly impactful, we must first establish who these men are within the ecosystem of Baltimore. And both Omar Little and Maurice Levy represent the extreme ends of the city's symbiotic economy. Omar Little, portrayed with iconic brilliance by the late Michael Kay. He is a rogue element in the drug war. He does not sell drugs, nor is he a police officer.
How'd that work?
Instead, he operates as an apex predator who feeds strictly on the Barksdale organization and other cartels. He adheres to a strict, self-imposed moral code.
All in the game, yo.
He never targets citizens, civilians not involved in the drug trade, and he operates with a bizarre but undeniable sense of honor.
Hey, look, I ain't never put my gun on no citizen.
He is also openly gay, adding a layer of complexity to his navigation of the hyper-masculine, homophobic streets of West Baltimore.
Faggot.
Omar's presence in this courtroom is highly personal. In Season 1, the Barksdale crew brutally tortured and murdered his boyfriend, Brandon.
But see, y'all went past that with Brandon.
From that moment, Omar declared a one-man war on the Barksdales.
You tell him it's 1,000 on the Bucks, and it's a deuce on Omar.
Taking the witness stand against Bird is not an act of civic duty. It is an act of tactical vengeance. On the opposite side stands Maurice Levy, played by Michael Kostroff.
Now you're in the game.
Levy is a high-priced, sleazy defense attorney who serves as the legal shield for the Barksdale organization. Unlike the street-level enforcers, Levy does not pull the trigger. Instead, he operates in the sterile, air-conditioned comfort of his downtown office and the courtroom. He coaches his clients on how to evade wiretaps, helps them launder their millions through real estate and front businesses, and uses his encyclopedic knowledge of legal loopholes to keep murderers out of prison.
A front has to be clean.
Levy represents the rot within the legitimate system. He is completely amoral, viewing the carnage of the drug war merely as a lucrative revenue stream. He is, in many ways, the ultimate institutional parasite. The trial centers on the murder of William Gant, a working-class citizen who bravely testified against a Barksdale soldier in a previous trial. In retaliation, Bird murdered Gant in broad daylight to send a message to the community: the legal system cannot protect you. Detective Jimmy McNulty and his team desperately need to put Bird away, not only for Gant's justice, but to prove to Baltimore that witnesses can come forward safely. However, the police lack a credible eyewitness. Enter Omar, who offers to testify that he saw Bird pull the trigger.
State calls Omar Little, Your Honor.
Faggot.
The courtroom is traditionally depicted in media as a sacred space,
We ain't on the street. We in a court of law.
a theater where the truth is eventually illuminated through rigid procedures, Latin terminology, and performative civility. Lawyers like Maurice Levy rely heavily on this environment because the environment itself confers authority upon them. From the exact moment Omar Little pushes open the courtroom doors, he shatters this illusion by weaponizing his authenticity. When state witnesses are prepped for trial, they are usually instructed to dress conservatively, to hide tattoos, to speak formally, and to conform to the jury's expectation of respectability. Omar completely rejects this paradigm. He arrives wearing a silk tie completely mismatched and draped loosely over a casual, dark hooded jacket and t-shirt. In a room built on procedural performance and manicured truths, Omar is unabashedly exactly who he is. This authenticity immediately disarms the opposition. When Assistant State's Attorney Eileen Nathan begins her direct examination, she asks him to state his occupation.
And what is your occupation?
I robs drug dealers.
By immediately owning his criminal lifestyle, Omar executes a brilliant preemptive strike. Defense attorneys typically win cross-examinations by unmasking a witness, finding their hidden flaws, secrets, and lies, and parading those flaws before the jury to destroy their credibility. Levy's entire strategy is built on exposing Omar as a menace to society. But Omar denies Levy this satisfaction by placing his own flaws on the table before Levy can even open his briefcase. He effectively tells the jury, "Yes, I am a criminal. I am not hiding it. Therefore, when I tell you I saw this man commit a murder, you can believe me, because I have no reason to lie about who I am." When Maurice Levy stands up to begin his cross-examination, he is visibly irritated but confident.
Mr. Little, can I ask why you came forward in this case?
He believes he is dealing with an uneducated street thug who can be easily rattled by aggressive, articulate questioning. Levy's strategy is textbook character assassination. He approaches the podium holding Omar's extensive rap sheet.
How many times have you been arrested as an adult, Mr. Little?
Levy begins to read the charges aloud, letting the heavy, violent words hang in the courtroom air.
Possession of a handgun, possessing a concealed weapon, assault by pointing, robbery, followed by violation of parole on weapon charges, followed by 1 count of attempted murder.
He attempts to paint Omar not as a witness to justice, but as an unreliable, violent sociopath whose word cannot be trusted to put a man away for murder.
How many times have you been arrested as an adult, Mr. Little?
Sure, I done lost count. Enough though not to take it personal.
Levy tries to leverage the inherent violence of Omar's life. He asks if Omar shoots people, if he steals, if he uses violence when his demands aren't met. To every question, Omar answers with a polite, calm, "Yes, sir."
What was it, Mr. Little?
I shot the boy Mike in his hind parts, that all.
Omar's refusal to become defensive or angry completely neutralizes Levy's attack. The defense attorney wants a reaction. He wants Omar to lose his temper, thereby proving to the jury that he's an unstable thug. Instead, Omar treats the cross-examination like a casual conversation at a bus stop. Frustrated that his usual tactics are failing, Levy decides to go for the ideological jugular. He steps away from the podium, moving closer to the jury to deliver a moralistic, theatrical monologue designed to secure the moral high ground.
You are amoral. You are feeding off the violence and the despair of the drug trade. You're stealing from those who themselves are stealing the lifeblood from our city.
It is a polished, highly effective speech. Levy uses elevated vocabulary to place himself and the jury on a pedestal, looking down at the filth of the streets. He points an accusatory finger directly at Omar. He expects Omar to cower or to lash out in inarticulate rage. Instead, Omar Little, utterly unfazed, delivers this iconic line.
Just like you,
The
man.
culture of drugs. Excuse me?
The courtroom falls dead silent. The judge, previously passive, suddenly looks up, intrigued. Omar does not yell. He explains his thesis with the calm, pedagogical patience of a professor speaking to a slow student.
I got the shotgun, you got the briefcase. It's on the game though, right?
In 3 sentences, the street criminal utterly defeats the legal scholar. Omar accurately and ruthlessly points out the false equivalence in Levy's moral posturing. He strips away the veneer of the justice system to reveal the raw economics underneath. Levy is paid with the exact same blood money that Omar steals. When the Barksdale crew poisons a neighborhood, ruins families, and murders witnesses, the profits go into a duffel bag. Some of that cash goes into Omar's pockets when he robs a stash house with his shotgun. And some of that exact same cash goes into Levy's bank account when he defends the cartel with his briefcase. Both men profit directly from the violence and despair of the Baltimore drug trade. The only difference is their chosen instrument of extraction. By pointing this out, Omar collapses the artificial hierarchy of the courtroom. He forces the jury, the judge, and the audience to realize that the legitimate system is entirely complicit in the illegitimate street war. Levy operates under the protection of the state, shielded by a law degree and a tailored suit, while Omar operates unprotected on the street. But ethically, they are peers. They are colleagues in the exact same industry. Levy is left completely flustered, stammering objections and appealing to the judge to strike the comment. But the damage is done. The jury has seen Maurice Levy not as an esteemed officer of the court, but as a different kind of gangster. His credibility is irreparably damaged by a man who didn't even finish high school. This scene is a microcosm of The Wire's entire sociological thesis. David Simon, a former Baltimore Sun police reporter, created the show to demonstrate that unchecked capitalism and institutional self-preservation have destroyed the American social contract. When Omar defeats Levy, it is a rare moment of catharsis where the subaltern speaks truth to power and actually wins. Throughout the series, we see the working class, the dock workers, the corner boys, the beat cops, constantly crushed by middle management and institutional bureaucracy. The system is rigged so that the people in suits always win, while the people in uniforms or street clothes always lose. Maurice Levy is the embodiment of this rigged game. He represents the way white-collar America sanitizes blue-collar crime. He feels superior to his clients because he doesn't touch the drugs or the guns, but without his legal machinations, the Barksdale Empire could not exist. He is the ultimate enabler. Omar's victory in the courtroom is so deeply satisfying because he refuses to play the game by Levy's rules. Levy expects to be treated with deference because of his title. Omar treats him strictly based on his function. In Omar's code, a man who protects child killers for money is no better than the killers themselves. The reactions of the secondary characters in the scene further amplify the power of Omar's rhetorical victory. Judge Phelan, a man who has seen thousands of cases and is deeply cynical about the theater of the law, gives a reaction that makes you believe he understands that Omar made a valid point. The police detectives in the gallery, they hate Levy just as much as Omar does. But as agents of the state, they are bound by decorum and procedure. They cannot call Levy a parasite to his face. Omar, completely unburdened by institutional constraints, says what everyone in the room knows to be true, but is forbidden from articulating. If the episode ended in the courtroom, it would still stand as one of the greatest scenes in television history. But The Wire Act is far too cynical and realistic to leave things at a simple philosophical victory. The brilliant, defining twist of the narrative is revealed in the final moments of the episode. Omar's testimony proves to be incredibly compelling. He accurately identifies the murder weapon, a .38 caliber pistol.
That's Bird's gun, the 380.
He identifies Bird, and he plays the jury perfectly. As a result, Bird is found guilty, and the judge ultimately sentences him to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
He will very likely be sentenced to life, no parole.
Justice, it seems, has been served. The ADA happily hands Omar his get-out-of-jail-free card.
This is good to get out of jail free, one time only on anything up to aggravated assault.
However, as Omar is walking out of the courthouse complex, Detective Jimmy McNulty catches up with him. McNulty is the detective who caught the Gant murder case. He knows the timeline, he knows the ballistics, and he knows the streets.
You really see him shoot the man? You really asking?
The implication is heavy, silent, and entirely clear. Omar did not see the murder. He perjured himself. He was not present when William Gant was shot. He likely learned the details of the crime, the type of gun, the time of day, through his extensive street connections, and customized his testimony to fit the police's evidence perfectly. This revelation recontextualizes the entire episode and elevates Omar's victory from a philosophical triumph to a tactical masterpiece. Omar did not just use his authenticity to defeat a lawyer. He used the very theater of the courtroom, the institution designed specifically to find the truth, to execute a flawless, street-level hit. Omar knew that Bird was guilty of William Gant's murder. He also knew that Bird was a vicious sociopath who participated in the brutal torture and murder of his lover Brandon. Knowing that the police were struggling to make the charges stick, Omar stepped into the legal machine and provided the exact lie the system needed to function. He weaponized the state's desperate desire for a conviction to achieve his own personal revenge. He used the judge, the jury, the prosecutor, and even McNulty as unwitting accomplices in his vendetta against the Barksdale cartel. This is the ultimate irony of the episode. The justice system only achieved a just outcome, putting a real murderer behind bars because a criminal lied to it. The system's procedures were not strong enough to catch Bird on their own. The system required the injection of street justice, packaged as a legitimate testimony, to work. When we analyze the entirety of Omar Little's testimony against Bird, we uncover a devastating critique of the American legal framework. The scene proves that the rules of society are largely a shared illusion, heavily biased toward those with capital. Maurice Levy walked into that courtroom believing that his education, his vocabulary, and his societal standing made him invincible. He believed that because his crimes were committed on paper, they were not crimes at all. He viewed Omar as a lesser life form, a pawn to be swatted away with legal jargon. But Omar Little proved that a man with a strict code, even a violent one, possesses a clarity that an amoral institutional player lacks. Omar saw through the performative civility of the courtroom and recognized it for what it truly was, just another corner, just another hustle. By exposing the lawyer's identical moral failings, dismantling his character assassination with blunt honesty, and ultimately using the system's own procedural blindness to commit perjury for a righteous cause, Omar orchestrated the ultimate stick-up. He didn't just defeat a lawyer, he robbed the American justice system of its illusion of superiority. He proved, once and for all, that whether you are carrying a shotgun or a briefcase, it is, and always will be, all in the game.